Good morning, friends. How are you today? Today, I wanted to come and talk to you about some tips and suggestions for how to work on scissor skills with your kiddos. So I have to admit that when I first entered the pediatric world as an occupational therapist, teaching kids to cut with scissors was for sure one of my least favorite things to work on. I just found it very difficult to break down the task, to explain it to a lot of kids. There's also kind of an inherent stress with it because obviously you have to make sure that if you've got a kid flailing around with scissors, that not only are you safe, but you have to make sure that the kiddo doesn't injure themselves in the process. So it used to be very stressful for me, but over the years I have become a little more adept at working on scissor skills, and it's not quite so intimidating anymore. So what I want to say first, so the benchmark for cutting with scissors, the first milestone that we're looking for, usually shocks parents, but at about age 2, your kid should start to be able to just snip with scissors. So what this means is we just want them to be able to complete the action of opening and closing the scissors just one time, cutting the edge of a piece of paper. That's it, okay? So just snipping. I know that a lot of parents don't tend to give their kids scissors quite so young, and so I get it because of that inherent kind of stress with everything, but that's usually what we're looking for. To help with this process, they do make a lot of safety scissors out there. They make spring-loaded scissors. I highly recommend spring-loaded scissors as a great option. What spring-loaded scissors do is basically they stay open, and then all your kid has to do is squeeze them closed, and then they pop right back open. So it's a little safer because the kid's not gonna be able to as easily kind of clamp down and cut their finger or anything like that. But it's also a little easier for the kid to maneuver and to actually complete the cutting process. So that's a great place to start with your kids. So I highly recommend spring-loaded scissors as a first step. After that, you can get some easy, kid scissors and kind of progress your way up for sure. So what I wanted to talk about first is just some tips for working on that snipping. So once you've got kind of the scissors and you've started the process, one of the fun things that I've found to do with younger kids, so ages 2 and 3, if you are working on just that snipping, a fun way to do that is to cut straws, because when you cut a straw, it kind of flies like that. I was hoping it would do it. So if you snip through a straw, the piece that you cut off kind of flies through the air. It's fun, it's exciting, it's motivating for kids, and so it can be a fun way to work on that snipping process. So then after your kids learn how to snip with scissors, they will progress to cutting across a piece of paper, so from one end to the other. Then you can start adding lines. So you can add a line for them to follow, then you can make them a curved line or a zigzag line, and then eventually we're going to get to cutting shapes. So a couple of common things that I see with kids when we're working on cutting with scissors. If you have a kid that, if you notice that when they're cutting, they move their shoulder a lot. So they kind of cut and they're moving like this, and they're kind of waving their shoulder all around. That could be an indication that maybe their shoulders aren't quite as strong as they should be, and so they don't have quite the shoulder stability that they need. Or it could just be that they're having trouble figuring out how to coordinate and control the arm and hand movements that they need for cutting with those scissors. So a great way to combat that and what I would suggest is practice cutting with scissors in a prone position, laying on the ground, propped up on elbows. That takes the shoulder right out of it, and so all the kid can do is just focus on the arm and the wrist and the hand movements that they need to cut with those scissors. If you don't want to lay on the floor to do this, you can also just cue the kiddo to prop their elbow on the table and keep their elbow in contact with the table while they're cutting with the scissors. So that's a great option. Another thing I usually see or often see is kids that are going to cut too fast. So they might be cutting out lines or shapes, and they're just going through the process so fast. And what happens is that their cutting becomes really choppy, it's sloppy, they don't quite get on the lines, and they're just moving through the process way too quickly. One way to combat that is to have them cut through cardstock. So cardstock paper is a little thicker than other paper that you might be working with. Or if you don't have cardstock, simply take a piece of paper and fold it in half. And if you want, you could even fold it in fourths and have them cut through that. And so the multiple layers will make it a little trickier, they'll need some more control and to kind of slow those movements down in order to cut out the lines or shapes that they're working on. So that's a great option for just kind of slowing the process down a little bit. Let's see, what else did I want to say? So, those are probably the biggest things that I see with kids when they're working on cutting with scissors. Another thing I will say, if your kid is decidedly left-handed, they do make left-handed scissors. Please invest in a pair of left-handed scissors to see if that makes any difference for your kiddo. That being said, I myself am left-handed. However, I cut with my right hand. So there might be a disparity there, but please know that they do make left-handed scissors. The blades are reversed, and it will be easier for your left-handed kiddo to cut with those scissors if they're a true lefty, and they might benefit from those left-handed scissors. I could probably go on and on with some different tips and tricks and everything like that I've learned, but for the sake of time, I will leave it at that for now. If you have any specific questions, please leave them in the comments. I'd love to help you with any specific issues you're having with scissor skills. Otherwise, I just hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. All right, bye.